The 2025 Montana legislative session has come to a close. As MTN's senior political reporter Jonathan Ambarian explains, it was marked by significant bipartisan collaboration and the passage of key legislation addressing health care, education, and tax reform.
After 85 working days, the Montana legislature ended up passing more than 800 bills, advancing them to Governor Greg Gianforte's desk. On Thursday afternoon, Gianforte held his first public bill signing after the session wrapped up, officially approving a slate of bills revising Montana's environmental laws in response to the held climate case ruling last year. The environmental bills were among the top achievements that House and Senate Republican leaders named when summing up the session. They also touted things like income tax reductions, funding for prisons, and standing up for conservative values on issues like transgender policy.
We do have a lot of accomplishments. I think the Senate, despite a lot of adversity, has really risen to the occasion.
Republican leaders made overhauling the judiciary a major priority this year and said the bills they passed started that process. But one of the biggest proposals, allowing judges to campaign with party labels, didn't move forward.
It was a push that, the majority of the caucus wanted. There was always a few, and respect their opinions, but I wasn't going to give up on it easy. So it was always kind of a ace in the hole. It just didn't quite play out.
Democrats pointed to the defeat of partisan judicial elections as one of their biggest goals for the session. They also celebrated things like investment in education and childcare, and particularly the extension of Medicaid expansion.
That sends a clear message to the governor and to Washington, D.C. Montanans expect and demand the health care coverage they get through the Medicaid program.
Democrats remained a minority, but held a larger share of legislative seats than last session, and leaders said that made a difference.
It has been because of the 12 more seats we've had in this building that Democrats have been able to bring these issues to the table, and the final product has been much better.
After a bill passes the legislature, it has to be signed by the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate before it officially goes to the governor's desk. Gianforte will then have 10 days to either sign or veto the bills. If he takes no action, the bills will become law without his signature. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Yesterday, we told you a federal court has ordered a Tennessee private prison company to pay nearly $28 million in damages to a man for his injuries sustained while incarcerated in its prison in Shelby. Tonight, MTN's Anissa Coomer has reaction from the plaintiff's lawyers as well as the prison.
A federal jury in Great Falls awarded nearly $28 million in a lawsuit against private prison company CoreCivic to a man who was nearly beaten to death in one of their prisons in Shelby, finding CoreCivic liable for failing to protect him. While serving time in the CoreCivic-owned Crossroads Correctional Center in Shelby in 2018, Nathaniel Lake was assaulted by another inmate, beaten and choked for over 3.5 minutes without intervention from staff. He was later found unconscious and life-flighted to a hospital in Great Falls, where he was in a coma for 33 days. His speech, mobility, coordination, and cognitive abilities are severely and permanently impacted. A federal jury found the Tennessee-based company CoreCivic liable for failing to protect Lake and awarded $27,750,000 in compensatory damages. One of the attorneys representing Lake, John Heenan, says it's a small price to pay for the permanent injuries, costs, and trauma Lake will face for the rest of his life.
For Nate to kind of live a life, not even a normal life, but a life, with the doctor's visits and everything in the future is millions of dollars.
After being discharged from the hospital, Lake returned to the prison for another 6 months until his conviction was overturned by the Montana Supreme Court, making Lake a free man. Heenan believes the violent incident Lake encountered is part of a larger problem and hopes this case can bring policy changes to the CoreCivic facilities.
Mr. Lake's circumstance is not isolated, that, there's been other people who have had problems at a CoreCivic facility. I mean, one of the things that came out in the trial was, when we asked CoreCivic, has there been any policy changes since this? I mean, it happened 7 years ago. Was anybody terminated? Was there any investigation? And CoreCivic just said no investigation, no consequences, no policy changes.
A spokesperson for CoreCivic told MTN, "We take the safety and well-being of every person in our care very seriously. We respectfully disagree with this decision, don't believe it reflects the facts of the case, and will appeal it on several legal grounds." Lake's legal team says they will keep fighting for him until the judgment is paid. In Great Falls, I'm Anissa Coomer, MTN News.